here we go, day 2 of systems of inequalities. You notice they have a greater than or less than symbol, so these are going to be shading, and you're only going to shade a quarter of it because it's split into quarters, not true quarters, but it's split into 4 pieces. So 1/4 of that is going to be done. So we're going to go to -2. That's our y-intercept, that last number right there. Hopefully all of your phones are away. Put it away, off your desk, away. So you're paying attention to what's going on here, especially you. So I'm going to go to -2, and I'm going to put a dot, because that's the y-intercept. Then I'm going to go to the slope, and from there I'm going to do 2 dots from that y-intercept. So since it's 1, I'm going to go up 1, and then my first one's always going to be to the right, 3. So up 1, 1, 2, 3, and I put my second dot. Now, can I continue on? Sure. I can go up 1 over 3 again and put a dot if I want to. But my second dot is always going to be reversed. That's why, since I went up 1 and right 3, I'm going to go down 1 and left 3. And I can continue down 1, left 3 if I wanted to. You can go up 1, back 3. You can continue to put dots down there as you want. Now, I need to look at this before I draw my line. And I look, this is a open or a line or a dashed line. Dashed because there's no line. If there were a line underneath it, which means equals, I would put a line. But this is going to be a dashed line, because numbers or coordinate points that appear on this dashed line will not be used. So I go to this one. Again, y-intercept. You can see the y on the outside it's solved for. That is the y-intercept. I go to 3 and I put a dot. From there, I'm going to do the slope. Now notice there's a negative. So that's -4, which means go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to run to the right 3. 1, 2, 3, which falls right on top of that dot. Do that in reverse. Up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then back or left 3 spaces. Dotted or dashed, no lines. This is a dashed line. We have 2 dashed lines. If you have your pencil, and you should be using your pencil at home, you can draw the line and then just erase little slots in there, so it's dashed. Now, unlike systems of equations, we're not looking for that coordinate point where they intersect. We're looking for one of these quarters to be shaded. And if you can't see this heavy black line where it's separated, I'm going to help you out a little bit. Here's one piece that it was split into. Here's another piece it was split into. Here's another piece it was split into. And here's another piece. Oops, that's green came out almost yellow. We'll do blue. That's why I grabbed an extra one. All right. Does everybody see there's clearly 4 sections that these 2 dotted lines, dashed lines, separated this into? I know it looks green there, but it's supposed to be blue. Yes, there are 4 different ones. We need to know which one of those 4 to shade. Now, here's the thing, Rome, pay attention. Let's take the first line. I know the one at -2, which is this line. Does it say greater or less? It says greater, and the greater, if we look at that, is right there. So it's one of these 2 spaces, right? Not this one and not this one. I want you to cross those out. I want to see that on your paper that you're crossing them out. Because if there were just one line, I would shade all of this. Okay? Not down here. So I know these 2 sections are not going to be there. So it's got to be one or the other. What do? I go to my second line, which is here at 3, and is it greater or less? Less. The less is down here, which means I cover this side up. What's the only side visible now that's not X'd? This one. And you shade that whole thing in. And you put an X in the other one because it's covered. This is the easiest way to figure this out. Put your x's in there, especially if you're having a hard time figuring it out, because that only leaves you two choices. I know you can't separate these, and I'm going to do the next one separating it, but I think with using the marker, I'm wasting a little bit of paper, but for the sake of teaching you and learning, I'm good with that. So we have, again, if I cover that up, does everybody see that? That says y is greater than -2, so that we go to -2, that's the y-intercept for that line. Then we go to the slope. It says 5/3, which is rise over run right. So since it's +5, we're going up 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and then run to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. Do not go up to 5. You go up that number of spaces on slope. Then we do it in reverse. We went up 5 and right 3, so we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1, 2, 3. And this is a dashed line. Does everybody see that? There's no line under it, so it is a dashed line. Once again, you guys, if you're not good at lifting your pencil and all of that, just draw the line and then erase for the dashing. Now we move to the next one. And you can see clearly there, y is greater than 2, so I go to 2. That's the only time I go to the number that it actually says is on the y-intercept. From there, slope means I'm going to rise the number of spaces and run the number of spaces to the right. Since it's +1, I'm going to go up 1. Then it says run to the right 1, 2, 3, which falls on that dot. Do in reverse. I went up 1, so I'm going to go down 1. I went right 3, so I'm going to go left 3. Opposites, right? Correct? I shouldn't say right. Correct. Again, no line underneath it. Therefore, we're not going to draw a line. We're going to dash it to represent no line. There we go. Now, we can clearly see, and it's nice with the black marking in there, I can see this space. I can see this space, this whole space, this space, and this whole space here. Don't let your axes separate, okay? It's that whole thing. This whole thing is a space. This is a tiny space. This, all the way down into there. I have a lot of guys that don't want to cross this axis line, and that's okay. That is not what separates it. And then this space in here. So 4 different spaces that it did, which is different than this one. Every line separates it differently, depending on your pieces. You have small pieces, big pieces, medium-sized pieces of it, okay? So let's go to the first line. That's this one here. That's the one that's at -2. So it says greater or less? Greater. So I'm going to go on that line. This is the greater side right here. That's 10. So it's one of these two, which means the ones underneath, right? Normally, if it were just one line, I would shade all of this. We're not going to throw shading in there because people, I think, still get confused. I say anything underneath my ruler now gets X'd out, and I want you to throw X's in there. Those are not it. Now I go to my second line, which is the one on the 2. It says greater or less? Greater, which means I'm going to shade up here again. But isn't one of the 2 already crossed out? So which one am I going to shade? What color? The yellow. That whole thing, past this line, past that line down there, all of this gets shaded in. Some of you stopped at a line for some reason in there. Okay? And put an X in that one. Any coordinate point in here can be entered in for the X and the Y and make this statement true for these. This is the easiest way rather than taking a coordinate point in here, a coordinate point in here, a coordinate point in here. You can also check by finding a coordinate point in here and entering it in. All right. I am not going to use the markers again, at least to shade in the chord, not to shade in the 4 pieces. So, I'm not done up here, am I? I got to do something with that one. What do I got to do? Yeah, I got to put it over 1 so I have a slope. There's nothing to do with this one. There's no x, so I don't need 1 over 1 or anything like that. There's not just an x minus 1. So that just stays there, right? That's a line that will run up and down or left and right. In this particular case, it should run left to right. So we're going to go to 2. We put our dot at 2. That's our y-intercept. From that y-intercept, we're going to make 2 dots based on that slope. Since it's negative 3, we're going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then always to the right on the first one. Then we do it in reverse. So since we went down 3, we go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go left, 1. Guys, when you go to graph this, you need to understand that it's completely opposite. They should line up. By the way, has a line? Yeah, we're going to put a line. And you can clearly see there's a line underneath that, greater than. So if there's a line, you draw a line. If there's no line, you dash it, which means no line. Now, this is negative 1 on the y. There is no x, which means you cannot cross the x-axis, which is that one right there. So my line has to run left to right. And it is a line because there's a line under it. Does everybody see it? Now, it's separated this into 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, and 4 piece. I'm not going to color it in because you need to get used to not seeing it. So let's go to the negative 2 one. Or you can do, which one do you think you want to do first? Which one would you guys do first? Anybody? The top one or the bottom one? The top? I heard somebody say top. So that one. Is it greater or less? Greater. Here's the greater. So I'm going to put it so that I would shade the greater, right? That means this one and this one down here, which means this one is not and this one is not. Okay? Does everybody understand how I got that? Anybody not understand, make sure that you ask me so that we can do that. This one or this one will be it. So now we go to this line. This one is also greater, which means I would shade up here to the greater, which is this one or this one. One of them's x'd out. So which one am I going to shade? All the way down in here too. All of this in here. Does everybody see that? I even went down below that axis there. The axis does not determine, the x and y axis does not determine where I shade. It's the lines that we make. Everybody see that? Look here. See where I shaded under there? See where I shaded on this side of the axis? It's the lines that we made that separate each section. By the way, put an X in that one. If you follow that simple rule about shading the one line, okay, I know it's greater, I know it's going to be one of these two, and cross out the other two, now you're at 50% as to which one it is. Put it to your other line, there's the greater, I know it's going to be one of these two, this is the one without an X, I shade it, cross out the other one, okay? This one's going to be a little stranger. There's 2 or 3 of these in here. Everybody notice something about the slopes? They're the same. We're going to have parallel lines. So let's just go ahead and graph it first, and then we'll deal with shading. Because this turns it into 3 pieces instead of 4. So we go to 1, put our dot. 4 over 3, which means up 4 and right 3 because we have a positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're always going to run to the right. 1, 2, 3, but it's the up and down that changes. Now we'll reverse it. We'll do down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then do left. This one is a line because there is a line. We'll go to -2, which is right here. And it's also 4 over 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Sounds like a Sia song. All right, but this one, dotted or solid? Dashed or solid? It's dashed because there's no line. See, this one's a line because it has a line. This one's dashed because it does not have a line. All right, does everybody see that this separated into 3 sections? This section out here, this middle section, and this section out here. And all 3 of them could possibly be shaded based on greater than and less than. Anybody not see those 3 spots? Is everybody okay? You understand where all 3 are? In between, on the left, and below, right? Above and below the lines. So, I take the first one, which is at 1, and it says greater, right? Which is where? Here. Now, this, you can't do the cross-off method here because it could not, there may not be a solution, believe it or not. But it's saying this one here, right? Not this one and not this one. Well, we can cross. So it has to be this one or none. All right? Everybody see that? Chris, why are you on your phone, man? Do you see? It's greater, correct? This one and not this one. So it's either this one or none. So I need to look at this line right here. And it says greater. So I go here. We already said this is not it, right? The middle one, not it. Is this one uncovered? It's this one out here. Because we already said this one was not it, and this one was not it. By the way, what if this line said, right here, guys, look up here. What if this line said less, and I went like this, and I went less, and it's not. Well, this one's already crossed off, right? So there would be no answer, would be no solution, because the one line saying here, the other line saying here, both of them don't cross anywhere. This line crosses here, or these are all true for this one, but when I do this one, this is true for both, but this is only true for this line. So that's why we do it. Where is it true for both? Now, and you need to pay attention to this, how would the middle one happen? Well, if this one said less, right, this one would be okay and this one would be okay. And this one said greater, well, this one would have been crossed off, then it would be in the center. If this one was less and this one was greater, okay, see that? This one greater, and then if I did this one less, it would have to be the middle piece. So be careful of that because I know there's one on there. Try it out. Ask the question. Most of you probably should ask the question about these and say, hey, did I get this one right? Unless it's on the odd and you have the answer. But once again, I'm telling you this. Listen, do it, shade it, and then go and look at the answer. Don't just look at the back and go, okay, that's where I need to shade. And shade it. It's not teaching you. It's not the reason why I give you half the answers. I give you half the answers so that you can check your answer to make sure that you're doing it right. And if you don't do it right and you continue not to do it right, you need to ask. What am I doing wrong? How am I not thinking of this? Okay? Ask.